RoughRiders start their second game of the series against San Antonio, and we're joined by the field coordinator for the Texas Rangers minor league farm system, Jayce Tingler. Jayce, welcome back, obviously, to the team. It's a rough stretch the team is going through right now. Do you feel like, based on what you saw last night, guys are maybe pressing a little bit?
I think that's definitely the case. I think when you look around kind of minor league baseball, at least the Texas Rangers minor leagues, it's definitely that time. July, it's hot. Kind of those dog days of July. I know as a player, definitely the toughest time of the year when I played, and I think these young players are going through the same thing. I think the good news is, we keep battling. You definitely don't see anyone giving in. Maybe you're right. Maybe they're pressing, trying to do a little too much. I think the good news is August comes around. Players kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, catch their second breath. So, hopefully we get through these next 4 or 5 days, and I know once we cross the plate once, things will get going. So just got to get that first one across.
No doubt you've been through this as a player, manager. In your position right now, you've seen this sort of thing happen. What do you tell guys when you're in the bottom of this supposedly deep, dark, black hole where you just haven't scored in a long time? How do you maybe get guys not to stress out?
I think the common theme is, everyone feels it, and then you maybe try to do a little too much. So I think my message, Hardy's message, Boo message, let's try to do less. Let's try to shrink the field. Let's back the ball up a little bit, and let's try to take, hit the ball hard the other way. Try to simplify things instead of, filling the press. Hey, I got to be the guy that gets somebody across. Maybe you try to do a little too much, which I think, happens. I think that's a natural feeling. So I think being able to back off and, try to do less and simplify things is the best thing you can do.
Taking a look at things from the organization, it just feels like there has not been a ton of player movement, especially here in the middle part of the season when you usually see guys go up, maybe they graduate from a level, move up middle of the season. Has there been any reason for that as an overarching theme?
I don't know, the exact reason, but you're right. There hadn't been much movement. I think the main thing is when you look from the AA down, we're the youngest team at basically all the levels, AA, high A, low A. And I think it's very important, these guys mastered these things at their league. Not to say there's not going to be movement, but I think, right now everyone's pretty comfortable with these young guys. If they are having success, maybe they're knocking on the door of earning it to maybe hold off a little longer and make sure they master the things that are in their player plans and what they're trying to execute.
Is that more common with position players? Because I noticed that last year we really only had Jared Hoying move up in the middle of the season, and this year really hasn't been anybody from Myrtle on a position player-wise that's come up. Is that the part where you have to really prove yourself a little bit longer before you move up?
I think that weighs into it a little bit. I think just on the fact that, we've got a bunch of 19, 18, 20-year-olds in A-ball, and, the truth of the matter is, the AA, the Texas League, it's a different beast. And just making sure that, these guys are for sure ready to go before we make a move, I think is a good, safe play.
The minor leagues primarily is about player development, getting guys closer and closer to being able to contribute at the big league level. But do you and the rest of the organization take some pride in knowing that the Rangers, if you add up everybody's record, the second winningest team in terms of winning percentage among all major league organizations? That must be a point of pride.
Yeah, you know what? We don't really talk about it, really don't look at it. Maybe it's something at the end of the year. Maybe it's a discussion we have in instructs. It's probably, number one, it's a credit to the players. And number two, it's, the staffs are doing a really good job, especially with, what we talked about earlier is having young players at the level. So, the winning, I guess, is a byproduct of, the guys are doing things right. They're being taught the game, how to play. And there's certainly hiccups in the process. But, that's the main thing we want. We want competitive players. And I think the challenge for young players is for them to bring it every day. It's one thing to do it, 2-3 times a week. The hard thing for these guys to get to do it daily. When you start doing that, you start winning. I think that's a byproduct of, probably the coaches, the players we have, and going about our business the right way.
It's been a little bit more than a month since the short season team started in Spokane and also out in the Arizona League. I'm assuming you've had a chance to take a look at some of those guys. Who are some of the highlights as among the draft picks, the guys that are brand new to the organization, or maybe they just signed it as an international player that have really made a good impression here through this first month plus?
Oh, I think, there's been a lot of good ones. I think the one thing that stands out are the arms that we're able to kind of stockpile in this year's draft. There's a lot of live arms in Spokane and in Arizona. Though that's probably the first thing that stands out. I think the second thing is you talk about the Arizona team is certainly Demerit and Kiner, kind of the middle infield. You got one guy that can flat out pick it, a scrappy type player, and then in Demerit you got a guy that can swing the bat and is learning the game. So I definitely say the stockpile of arms that we pulled out of the draft, and then if you go back to the Arizona team, definitely those two middle infielders that have stood out basically 6 weeks into the season so far.
A guy that stands out simply because he was the first guy picked by the organization in the draft, Alex Gonzalez, has not gotten off to the smoothest start, but from what you've seen and what other folks have said, has he looked maybe a little bit better than those numbers would indicate?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think I got to see him for one start, and it was one of those games where he was only allowed to go 2 innings. I'm guessing with Chi-Chi, he's a guy that gets stronger as the game goes on, but when you see the body, you see the arm, you see the delivery, you know it's going to work down the line. It's just a matter of him learning the 5-day pitch and rotation, the routines that he has to do. And of course, there is some protection of the arm with him logging a lot of innings at Oral Roberts, as there is with a lot of the college pitchers we take.
There was a report yesterday in Yahoo that Manny Ramirez was really not knocking on the door of being a guy that would get called up to the big leagues. From what you've been aware of in terms of conversations, where does he stand with the organization now that he's been with the group for a little bit less than a month?
Yeah, I didn't read the report, didn't really see any of that. All I know is Manny's came into the Round Rock team, certainly present himself as like a tremendous teammate, a guy that works at it. I mean, he's in the cage 4 or 5 times a day, coming in 15-minute segments. You watch him throughout the game in DH. He has a routine. As soon as it's 5 batters before he's up moving around, he's swinging a bat, he has a routine. And you hope that some of those things, the experience, the professionalism, all those things kind of rub off on some of the young guys. As far as Manny's play, I was up there for the 4-game Omaha series, and he had tremendous balance at the plate. He didn't chase much out of the zone. He was able to get to a lot of balls, so it's been fairly good so far.
Lastly, bringing it back here to this team, I always hear great things said about the RoughRiders manager, Steve Buechele, by folks within the organization, outside the organization. That Baseball America lists the last couple of years has named him the best managerial prospect in the league. What makes Boo such a good manager, and especially at this level?
I think it's a lot of things. The couple things that stand out are the presence he has. He has a certain confidence about him. Certainly the experience, but he hasn't forgot how hard this game is to play. Like all people that have played it, they understand the struggles. I think Boo can relate to that, can relate to the players, understanding the hot times, the cold times. He's very even keel, but certainly the presence and the confidence that he has, and the belief he puts in his players that they can go out and do the job. I think those things stand out.
Jayce, always great to have you around. Hopefully they can get a run for you here tonight. Thanks for the time.
We'll be cheering on. Thank you, Alex.
That's the field coordinator for the Rangers minor league system, Jayce Tingler. We're back right after this here on the Frisco RoughRiders Baseball Network.